Hello, this is Instructor Williams. I am the technology instructor for the Antioch Public Library District. In this lesson, we will be going over Excel 2016 Formulas and Functions, Part 3. The objectives for this course are the parts of a function, creating a basic function, using the average function, using the AutoSum, and other sum functions. Working with basic functions. Basic functions is what we looked here at the very bottom of Blooming Bell's nursery when I got the $874.77. If you look up here into the formula bar, we typed in a formula that calculated all of that. And this is called a basic function. So we can break down the parts of a function. So we can come over here to the L column, widen that up a little bit, and break down a basic function. Like with all other parts of Excel, we hit the equal sign to tell it this is a math problem. And then we enter in the function that we wanted to do. In this instance, it is to add things together, so it's the sum. And then we want to open up the parentheses. And then we want to insert the cell reference of the first number that we want to add. So in this instance, we're going to add all the tax up. So I'm going to go to E4, and you can see here that it's entered E4. And then I'm going to put a colon, because the colon then says, hey, add everything up from this number all the way down to the last number. So I'm going to come here to E20, and you can see our formula equals sum parenthesis E4 colon E20. Then I close up the parenthesis. And what that tells Excel is to add everything from E4 all the way through E20. Everything in between. So when I hit enter, I get a total. The total tax for this invoice is $45.60. So now we're going to take that and apply it to another file. Come open up number 7, monthly budget basic functions. Monthly budget basic functions. So here we have a monthly budget. And we can see here we have the bills on the left, and they're broken down into subcategories. We have fixed expenses. So these are going to be the prices that are the same every month. We have the variable expenses. These are the prices that are going to fluctuate. We have other, so fund money, savings, and then we have credit. And so these are the credit card bills that we have. Now if I wanted to add up everything in January, the rent, the car insurance, the car payment, the health insurance, the cable, I would put the total for the total fixed expenses right here. Now I could do a formula like this. I could go equal B4 plus B5 plus B6 plus B7 plus B8. Enter. And it would get me $661. But the problem with this is if you do this a lot, the more clicks you have to do in the problem, the more likelihood of making an error. And so the basic function really streamlines the formula and reduces the likelihood of error. So I'm going to clear this out, and we're going to do the sum function again. So I'm going to do equal. I'm going to type in SUM. I'm going to open the parenthesis. I'm going to reference the first item, which is B4. I'm going to put in the colon. I'm going to reference the last item, which is B8. Close the colon, hit enter. We can see it is $661. Then I'll do that again down here for the variable expenses for January. I'm going to come down here where it says total variable expenses. So this is B17. I'm going to start it out with an equal sign. SUM. Open the parenthesis. Click the first one, which is the power bill, 5722, which is located in B11. Hit the colon. Come down to the gas bill, which is $100, located in B16. Click that. And you can see the dancing ants here, or the marquee, indicating all of the numbers being added together. And then I just simply close the parenthesis and hit enter. So the variable expenses for January is $405.59. Then I can do the same thing here for other. I'm going to do equal sum, open parenthesis, B19 colon B20, close, enter. My other expense totals $100. And then my credit card expenses. Come down here to B26, go equal sum, parenthesis, 75, which is located in B23, colon 8756, which is located in B25, close, parenthesis, enter. My credit card expenses for January is $199.98. Now I could enter that formula in each of these. The quicker way to do it is to activate or highlight the cell with the first answer that we have our formula in. So if I come to B9, I see the 661. Come up to the formula bar, and I see the formula. Now the cell reference function where we drag it does the same thing like it did when we drew down the taxes, like it did when we drew down the totals for the previous invoices. And I can also drag it left to right because it recognizes the pattern of numbers here. So when I have this formula here in B9, it sees the reference, add everything from B4 to B8. So when I drag it over one, it knows to move all the references over to one column. And so when I come here, it automatically updates to adding everything from C4 to C8. When I drag it over to here, it adds up everything from D4 to D8, so on and so forth. And I can do the same thing here for the total variable expenses. And I can do the same thing for totaling other expenses. And I can do the same thing for credit. And since we had the formulas preset in here to add up the totals together, we can see that our total monthly expense for January is $1,366.57, as opposed to maybe June, which is $1,459.30. So that's a basic function. The sum function is one that's used very often. It is very common. Now let's look at a slightly more advanced technique using the AutoSum and other auto functions. Now that we've learned about the simple function, there is another part of Excel that allows us to automate our sum function and other functions. Okay. Using the AutoSum function is just like the sum function, only it requires less keystrokes. So we don't actually have to type in the entire formula for the sum function, because the way we set the pattern up with our numbers helps the program Microsoft Excel intuit what we would like to do. So now that I've got all of the totals cleared out for our monthly budget, I'm going to come over here to M9, which is the total fixed expense for December. I'm going to highlight M9, and then instead of typing in equal sum parenthesis M4 colon M8 close parenthesis, instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to activate or highlight M9 and then come up to my ribbon, making sure I'm on the Home tab, go through Clipboard, Font, Alignment, Number, Style, Cells, Editing, and then we have this Greek sigma, and we can see right here that it says AutoSum. So I can click here, and it sees a cluster of numbers, so it intuits that I want to add those numbers together. So it automatically pops the entire formula into the cell. And if I'm happy with it, I can hit enter, and it gives me my total. I can do that again here for November. Under L9, I can click AutoSum. I can do October, AutoSum, and so on and so forth. Now, there are other functions that we can do, and so we're going to look at that here in just a second. But I'm going to use the variable expenses since there are different numbers across the board. So I'm going to come here to January's total variable expenses, which is located in B17. I'm going to use the AutoSum function, and I get 405.59. I'm going to use my drag function here to fill all of these numbers out, and then I'm going to come up to the AutoSum after I click in 17, which is just outside of our budget bracket. So I'm going to come to this blank spot right here, and I'm going to come up to AutoSum. But instead of clicking on AutoSum, I'm going to click this little arrow right here that gives me a drop-down menu, and these are some of the auto functions that we can do. So I can do an average, and since it's looking at the pattern, it's going to average the numbers from B17 to M17 and everything in between. So when I hit enter, the average variable expense for these 12 months is $429.54. So I can do averages with that. I can also do a maximum. So I can auto max instead of auto sum. And you can see the formula pop in, equal max parenthesis B11 colon M11 into parenthesis. And what it does is it's going to look through all of these numbers and give me the highest number, which is 88.55, located here in June. And then if I wanted to come down here for the credit cards for the Visa, I can come here in this little space out here. Instead of doing the max, I can do the minimum. So it gives me the formula equal MIN parenthesis B23 colon M23 into parenthesis. And the minimum number in this range is 0 from February. And that's really good to know in terms of calculating maximums, minimums, averages for a whole litany of different reasons. And then we can also come to more functions, and we have all of these functions to use depending on the situation. Now, some of these are a little bit more advanced, some are a little bit more simple, but we have this AutoSum function that auto-populates the formula in there to get whatever result it is we are looking for. And that is it for our Excel 2016 Formulas and Functions series. So here is a summary of today's lesson. We went over the parts of a function, creating a basic function, using the average function, using the AutoSum, and other auto functions. Once again, this is Instructor Williams, and I would like to thank you on behalf of the Antioch Public Library District. For more technology-related content or other library programs, please click the subscribe button.